But this is an historic occasion, the 100th Test match between the All Blacks and Springboks, to have been played originally in Dunedin, not to be due to circumstances we are all aware of. But it's time to get a different perspective. And Springbok John Smit played 111 tests for the Springboks, played the All Blacks an impressive 21 times, or caught up with him as we edge closer to this milestone occasion. John, I've got to ask you, when it comes to Test match rugby, for South Africa, are the All Blacks your measuring stick? Is that when you find out exactly where you are?
Without a doubt, Jeff. I think it was always two different debuts for you as a Springbok, and it's your first test, which you never forget, and it's sort of a blur, and you know what it's like. You get through it, and you never really registered because of all the nerves, and then the first time you ever play the All Blacks and face the haka, so you get the same story from every Springbok, and it's funny you mention that because obviously we've had the displeasure, or shall I say the difficult task of being pundits in the last 2 weeks against Australia. And I was sitting with Jean de Villiers, and I was just saying, I can't really judge this team too badly because my record against Australia wasn't too grand. In fact, I don't think I ever won in Brisbane. Plus, I led a team that lost 49-0, and I sort of trying to figure it out. And again, it's just one of those things. But it's, as a captain, the easiest game of the year to be a captain, to make sure that guys are in the zone and focused and on the money, was an All Black test. And it doesn't matter who else you play, it always gets harder. Any other test is a much harder task for a captain to sort of like get the team right on the money, on that sort of edge where you sort of you've got just enough composure to be able to understand what to do to win, and just enough sort of wild side and nerves to give the occasion the respect it deserves. So yeah, it is a special thing for us.
Is that history and legacy? Is that growing up the stories of historic games between the All Blacks and the Springboks?
Jeff, I think it's probably something that's built over time, and it becomes almost a sort of a urban legend, and it is a sort of a mythical feeling about an All Black Springbok test, and there have been some good ones and there's been some bad ones, and it's really been, I think, the gravitas of a sort of a Springbok versus All Black test has always sort of been in the hands of the Springboks. I mean, we have been far more volatile in our ability to stay on top of our game year after year after year, where the All Blacks are just always sort of a benchmark, always right up there, and I think it's got a lot to do with the fact that everyone else also, probably if they chose two teams that they disliked to play against the most, it would probably be the All Blacks and the Springboks. All Blacks because of their sheer skill set and their ability to be athletic and physical and smart all at the same time, and I guess the Springboks because there's just there's a little bit of an edge to any half decent Springbok team.
There's a ruthlessness is what there is about the Springbok team, because when you're at your best and when you're on top of your game, and I've experienced as a player, you guys find a level, you find another level. So when you had success against the All Blacks, was it pure and simply that you got the right mentality and intensity going in? And is that still the way it is now?
On the occasions where we were able to be successful against an All Black team, it was always small margins. It was always in a game that could have gone either way. I think there was only really one test that I played, and I think it was in Johannesburg, where it was really a bit of a hiding. But all the other tests that we won against the All Blacks could have gone either way. And I think it was in those games where we were able to, because often a Springbok team can get it wrong and get too worked up and too ruthless and actually forget about some kind of strategy, because without a strategy you're not going to beat an All Black team. Sorry, this is my youngest. She doesn't even know who the Springboks or the All Blacks are.
Hello.
So, and in those moments, you sort of always felt, especially as captain, that when the Springboks had that sort of ruthlessness or that edge, as well as a calmness around what they were going to do on the field. Because you can't just have one plan against the All Blacks. You've got to be able to prepare for different scenarios. And if you don't, they're just a team that never go away. I mean, you could have them 15 points up on the All Blacks, and it'd be a fool to think that the game was over. So it was always a balance between good strategy and that edginess around being able to be ruthless and physical without losing our minds.
So, in regards to this contest, we've waited 2 years, since the Springboks won a Rugby World Cup. We've wanted, obviously, to test ourselves against that side. Is this team, in your mind, the same team it was 2 years ago? And we think about this game, it was to be played in Dunedin, it's now being played in Townsville, all the circumstances surrounding it. Are we going to see the best of the Springboks, do you think, this weekend?
Jeff, it is without doubt the same team. They're a really special side, and I think what they were able to achieve 2 years ago was a short of a miracle considering where they were. And then to have a almost 2 year sabbatical of not playing, and then get sort of thrown the British and Irish Lions after numerous setbacks and salary sacrifices and bio bubbles and COVID positive tests. I mean, it's just the list of challenges that this group of players, and I suppose I speak around the world, but these South African boys have had a pretty tough time around staying together. So yeah, it's the same team. They're under far bigger challenges or greater challenges than any other Bok team that's ever had to go abroad. They've had to endure so much. There's some guys there that haven't seen their kids for quite some time, and it's difficult. They've gone from what they thought was a hard lockdown here in South Africa to almost imprisonment in Australasia. So it is the same team, Jeff, but they are going to have to overcome far more challenges than any team that I had to bring over there to be able to be victorious and bring the best. Because I do believe this is a kind of team that's really got a good chance of giving the All Blacks a good competition. But we've seen the last 2 weeks, and again, it's not something that anyone expected for twice to South Africa. To Australia, but the first one was close even after playing terribly, and the second one we weren't even in the game. So the one thing about this weekend is that the occasion and the magnanimity thereof will provide a huge amount of impetus for these guys to try and get back to what they do well. And they're a well-connected team. I'm pretty sure there'll be an emergency flight to get the water boy back into Australasia to give them a few words of wisdom. But I know that their management team and that group of players are just a group of people that understand how big occasion this is. So I don't think you'll see the error rates, the sort of the lack of bounce, and the lack of ruthlessness, like you mentioned earlier. I don't think we'll see those levels of what we saw the last 2 weeks next weekend.
Just lastly, I know my family prefer it when I'm at games working, because when I'm at home watching the All Blacks, it's a tough night for them because I ride the wave. How are you? Where do you watch games? How do you watch games? Do you get together with mates? Are you at home in your own little bubble and cocoon? Is a lockdown just perfect for you in regards to watching the Springboks play?
Jeff, I got pulled up yesterday. I was in studio for Supersport, and obviously we played the first game and we lost dramatically. And I eventually was asked halfway through the first half to switch my mic off to protect everyone around it. So I get really involved. I don't know. I mean, it feels. I mean, I know I stopped playing a long time ago, but it feels so much a part of my life. I get really worked up, and then I got pulled up for being too miserable for the Argentinian-New Zealand game, and someone told me to start smiling more on camera. So, I get super high and I get super low. It feels like I'm still playing, and so the less people that don't know me well that I'm surrounded by, the better. To be fair.
Do you still believe the Springboks can win this weekend?
Yeah, yeah. Without doubt, I would have thought they would have gone there and done well against Australia twice, and it would have been a really sort of big hype around. Oh, these Boks are still top of the world, and this two test matches would have deflated their momentum and their rhythm, and there's just been no fluidity around how they've been able to not do what they do well for the last 2 weeks. So we certainly don't go in as favourites anymore, and but I do know that this is a team that when they do the things that they do really well, it'll certainly take time and space away from an All Black team that just has the most amazing skills when given an extra second or an extra meter to be able to offload, change hands, step, look for players. So if South Africa get it right and they do what they do well, I think we'll have a really, really competitive test match. But there's a lot of work to be done, both mentally and around the accuracy of their game to get there.
I like what you're saying because it sounds like to me you think the All Blacks are a pretty good shot. So this is a perfect result for me. But hey, look, hey, great to have you on the show. Enjoy the game as much as you can. We're going to be doing the same here in New Zealand. We've been waiting a long, long time for it. Thanks for joining us on the breakdown, mate.
Anytime, Jeff. Good to see you, man. Good luck that side.